Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun. Okay, well, Nick Collier here again, and we've got another project online here. I don't know, 5-7 years ago, I picked up this project from this woman here in town, and we made these nutcrackers for her. Well, looks like about a year and a half ago she said, I'm done, I'm too old, I'm retiring from the nutcrackers, do you want to buy it? And I said, well, I don't have the money to buy it, but I'll take it over if you want. So she hemmed and hawed for a while, but then eventually she said, yes, okay. So I took it over, and the nutcracker that we worked with was, it was okay. It didn't have all the design changes I wanted that would make it easier to make and also easier to fix if something went wrong, and easier to ship. So last summer I just completely revamped the whole design, brought it back into production, and we are right now in the beginnings of producing the next 30. And we've sold a bunch of them, and we're ready to move forward. So what I'm working on right now is part of this has a cam in it, and so I've cut these 3-inch slugs out of 1.5 inch material, and we're gonna drill a hole in it on a you can see on not quite centered. So we're gonna do that and follow along. We're gonna have some fun. Okay, let's move ahead. We've got our plug in, and we're going to use our rotating tailstock to do this. Oh, that's not good. Oh, yeah. Okay. Come and put a center in there. And we'll go from there. Okay, we got our hole drilled, and I'm gonna now do the other 35 of these, or 33 of these left, and we're gonna pass the camera over to Jason, who's doing the other part of this cam, which is the shaft that goes through this hole. So hey, take it away, Jason.
Good morning. It's Jason again, back out at the shop. It's a nice rainy December morning. Come in, and Nick's got a fun project on the lathe for me today. So we are prefabbing some parts for a product we sell. It's a nutcracker, and today we're going to go ahead and just work on getting some backup parts set up for our next batch. So we're going to do 35 of these. I got my measurements already marked out. For what we're doing is taking this radius down to fit a bearing, so we can get the bearing on the shaft, both ends, and then we're going to put a little square here for a handle to crank it. So we got the collet head on this piece right here. It's my first time using it. Nick explained to me that it sets up for fast reproduction, so since we're doing 35 of them, it's nice to have this on. You can just pull it out and out, in and out. It already sets us where we're at every time, so we can just run off our DRO. So let's get it started. I got my measurements down already, measured my pieces, so we're just gonna get to making these parts. Hope you have fun with me. $650. Okay, so we did a cleanup pass, our first pass. Now we can go through and find out where we're at and how much we have to take off. Close. Get another box to put these in. And that's what we want. I'm gonna get a file over here to put a little chamfer on these. And as you can see, that collet head makes this setup real fast. Okay, so we got all 34 of those machined down. Got that radius on this end for the bearing. Now what we have to do is flip it around, get the same radius in for the bearing here, but we also have to drill and tap a hole for the handle to be attached. So got everything set up. Basically the same step as before. We got the collet head on. It just holds us in the same exact position over and over. Makes it quick for production. So we get it in. Got our numbers already set in our DRO, so basically we just run it and cycle through all 30. Yeah, here we go. So as I was saying, I already have my numbers set just to cut, but what I like to do is cut that pass, that first pass, and then without moving it at all, I go back in one more time and just do a nice cleanup pass. It usually just takes a little bit off, not even a thousandth. Just like that. Now we'll come in with the center, set our center on the end, and run our drill bit in, create the hole. Next step, we'll go back and run the tap in. And of course it's going to break when I'm filming it. Get that out, give me a minute. Good morning, Jason again, back at the shop, moving along with the next step in the nutcracker bats. Cut the radius and drilled the hole in the last episode. Now we're going to put threads in the hole for the handle to get screwed on. And the process is pretty simple. Just get it in our lathe. We got our tap, we got our cutting thread, and that's about it. There it is. Simple as that. Okay, so moving on to the next step. Today we're going to be putting a square end on a round shaft for our handle to fit on. We run it in with that bolt that we tapped earlier. So we got the square collet out, makes it nice and easy. We got our stop measurement so we can set it in the same every time, and then just running a couple passes squaring this off.
Okay, here we are back at the cam. We've drilled the holes in the shaft, and notice that this is a little oblong, mostly because I drilled the hole in the wrong place. Well, not in the wrong place, but just slightly. I want to get just a little bit more cam action. So notice that I ground the fire scale away here, so this will slide in, maybe. Huh. Okay, let's slide it in this way. There we go. This will slide in and position itself right there, and then we come in with the MIG welder and weld up these two holes. Not completely weld them up, but just enough to get this to bond to the shaft. And then we have our cam. And and right now let's go ahead and weld it up and film that and get this all done. But first, we need to warm this thing up because this whole thing is freezing cold, and the MIG welder has a hard time getting a real good bond unless you have it nice and warm. So we'll put it on the fire for right now, and notice that our heatilator is in place, and that is working excellent. I mean, yesterday it warmed this shop right up. And on top of it, we've got this little dinky box fan back there just kind of doing, you know, right in here, just almost hardly blowing air at all through there. Now, I can't wait to come up with a squirrel cage fan, set it up right at the bottom here, blow the air in, have it enclosed so the air has to come through all of these holes and just blow the hot air out. And that's going to make it so much more efficient. So we'll let this heat up, and then we'll weld up those holes, and I think we'll be all set to go. Okay, we got this thing warmed up. We're ready to weld up those holes. Okay, pretty good job. Got a little bit messy there, but you know, just take it on the belt sander and take that down a little bit. The working edge of this cam is on the opposite side, so this won't get touched at all, or there'll be no pressure against it. So now here's what happened is, and we had the material already purchased, this 1.5-inch bar stock, and I must have bought that 2 years ago when prices were reasonable. And now prices are through the roof. So we're trying to find a better way to do this so we don't have to buy 1.5-inch solid bar stock, and we don't have to drill the whole way through. For one, the drill tends to wander just a little bit. I mean, you know, a few thousandths, no big deal, but it does wander. So I'm racking my brains trying to figure out how to get this thing in better condition, cheaper, and less time consuming. So what we came up with is, and we're going to walk you through this process because I need to build one to test out. Okay, so we came up with some 1.5-inch tubing, 095 wall, and I think this is going to do what we want to do. That'll give us a start, at least. Okay, here's the general plan. We've got the piece here. It's going to be about the same size as this piece. Whoops, it's a little bit long, but we'll put it on the lathe and trim it down. And then we turn down a piece of bar stock, and we're going to get it to fit inside of that. And then we're going to cut just some little discs. Now later on, when we get ready to go into production with this idea, we'll just have some 1/4 inch plate or maybe 10 gauge plate cut out with the laser cuts that we get all of the rest of the parts made from, and then those will fit in there. Okay, so that's we're going to turn this around and cut it on the bandsaw. We'll take our piece out. Somewhere in that general area. Okay, so we've got our two pieces here. We need to deburr them. Yeah. We'll come back in a minute. Okay, so now we've got our plugs, and they're just going to go inside of there a little bit. Let's get a hammer. Getting there. Ah, there we go. That's pretty good. That's one side. The hell was that? Okay, there's the other side. We want to get it in far enough that the weld isn't going to protrude out at all. That looks pretty good. Okay, so let's weld it. Okay, that's good. We'll leave that to cool off a bit, and then we'll come in and drill our hole. And in the meantime, this is probably cooler, somewhat. Not so much. All right, we'll be back. Okay, the way we're going to find this off-centeredness is with the dial indicator, of course. So what I want is 250 thousandths. So we got what, about 40 thousandths at this point. So this is our high point. There's 1, 2, 50, right on the money. Wow, that's pretty cool. Tighten everybody up. Okay, the other style took 8 minutes to drill that hole. This took, what, less than a minute. So I think we're got an advantage going here. Let's take this out and see what we come up with. That looks pretty good. I think we might have something there. Let's take it over and drill our 2 holes and then put the shaft in there and see what we come up with. Well, finally, and it took all this time, I got this mill last spring and had to kind of go in and rebuild a bunch of stuff that had gotten screwed up. But now it's fully up and running, and we've used it on 2 jobs so far, which has been a great addition to the shop, because I can go from the other mill and do a second run on this mill. So let's drill these holes. Okay, we got our 2 holes drilled. Let's see how it's going to weld up. See how this is going to go in. Nice and snug for sure. Little off center, but I think we can wrestle it back into position fairly easy. There it is. Okay, there we go. It's there. Now there's a bit of a gap, as you can see, and let me bring it in closer. You can see there's a bit of a gap between the shaft and the outside edge here, but that went in pretty tight. And I think the fact that it's in nice and tight, all we have to do is make a connection between this outer barrel and the shaft and with the welder in 2 places, and we've got it. So let's weld it up and see what we come up with. I think that's going to be more than enough weld to hold that thing in place and not be a problem. Although I'm going to do it just a little bit more, just to make sure. Well, I think that came out pretty good, although it wasn't centered in the camera. That's going to work pretty well. So that is the next step, or the next evolution in this process of attempting to make this nutcracker more not profitable, but less expensive, because at this point it's fairly expensive tool. Now people do seem to be buying it, but it would be nice to drop about $100 off of it and have it a little more affordable. In the meantime, we've got other projects coming, and this is Nick Collier checking out.